Alrighty. Hi, everybody. This is the walkthrough video for Wednesday. It is the 7th. If you weren't here today, we changed some seats. This is the last seat change for the trimester, unless something really unexpected happens. And then we are going to do yellow bell work in just a moment. So we did our seat change. Please see me. I'll make sure you have a seat. And then we learned about this idea about island biogeography and biodiversity. One of those is shown here. It says islands that are blank and blanker have more biodiversity. And you'll need to go back to yesterday's work to think about what the characteristics of islands are, or you can listen to what I'm about to tell you today. Um, so it's the same. The what is the same as Monday. So you can just write same. We're thinking about how island biogeography impacts us right here in Indiana, because the same ideas that we learned about last class matter to our own ecosystems, even though we are landlocked here in the Midwest. We are not ocean adjacent. Even the Great Lakes do not have a lot of islands, but it turns out the same ideas apply here too. So today I'm going to set you up for success at our student task, Island Biogeography. This is an assignment that you're going to complete and submit online. I don't have Canvas pulled up yet, but when you go into Canvas to pick up the link, you and your team are just going to each pick up that link, share it between you, and submit it individually into Canvas so we can get credit for your work. Remember, the last call for missing and late work from weeks 6 through 11, which is this week, is next Friday at 2:40 p.m. Obviously, the stuff that is due Monday and Tuesday will not be last call due on Friday. That'll be last call due during finals week. And I'll tell you more about that when we are in week 12. So for now, though, grade reports are going home. D's and F's are being notified. You really need to make sure that your work is in and done. All right, so where have we been? What's the thing about these islands that affects their biodiversity? They're all at the same latitude, the same amount north and south. What's different? Right, it's island size. And then what about this one? Right, distance from the mainland. And we learned that that moves these curves, which means we predict that the species richness will be different in different places. It's not just prediction. As you'll remember, they fumigated entire islands and tested both island size, which is not shown here, and distance from mainland. This one is only 2 meters from the mainland. This one was more than a track's, like one lap around the track away. So we know now that this thing that we were talking about these islands is true, right? That species richness really does depend, biodiversity really does depend on islands being big, like this one, and islands being closer to biodiverse places like the mainland, right? So we're going to apply that to what we've been thinking about climate change here in Bloomington. To maintain the current climate niche, the kind of ecosystem we have here, Bloomington organisms will have to migrate about 250 miles north or farther. So let's say that's 4 miles a year. We introduced you to these insects last time, and you wrote down some pluses or minuses on your sheet, which you should have back. Today, we're going to think about predicting that migration success of these focal species. And it's blurred on purpose so that people can't see it, but I'm going to show you it in a moment. So we did this. So your task is going to be to open the student workspace for this activity. When you get there, it's going to look like this. You are going to go, as it says here, well, I can't see, hang on a second. I can't see from where I am. There we go. You're going to go to File and Make a Copy. So that's up here when you're logged in here to File, Make a Copy. And then you're going to set sharing so all the students who are working can edit at once. If it's just you today, that's what you're going to do. You set sharing by clicking this link. In this particular case, I left it restricted so I can show you when it says general access. Anybody with this link can view, and then you'll have to add your collaborators. Like maybe Ms. Black is going to edit this with me. Maybe Ms. Watkins is, maybe it's Ms. Floyd. And then you're going to hit copy link and hit done. And that link gets copied for each of you once you have access to it into Google Drive. Now, remember, you have a place that says shared with me. So if you're not the person who owns that document and you're working collaboratively, this is where it's going to be. You can see people have shared all kinds of things with me recently. So what you're going to do is make your own copy. Make a copy of is what you say. Make a copy of the student workspace. That's what you're going to do first. Make a copy of the student workspace. You need to share it like I just showed you. And then you're going to open maps.google.com and you're going to search for Griffey Lake. Griffey Lake. I just have to type Griffey Lake and hit return. You might need to write Bloomington. Griffey Lake looks like this and like this. And we're going to imagine that your insects start right at the Griffey Lake Boathouse Rental and the North Shore Trail. They're going to start right in this little patch of forest here. Maybe they might be on a stream down here, but it really is over here where they're starting. And so if we zoom all the way out from Griffey, which is kind of highlighted in red here in Bloomington, the goal is to follow the path of them all the way up to Ann Arbor, Michigan. So at this zoom, you can see Bloomington to Ann Arbor, Michigan. So you're going to head back to Griffey Lake, and what you're going to do is just kind of like, you can zoom out a little bit, but you're going to follow the path of these insects, remembering that one of them needs forest cover, one of them needs clean water, one of them really needs access to wildflowers, sunflowers, and related flowers that are found in the wild. And you're going to start seeing what the path is like for them. Before you do that, in the student team, you're going to come through here and type just what you think the top pluses or minuses are from our investigation the other day. What do you think is going to be helpful for each of these for the success of this new range, this new migration? And then, like I said, you're going to follow up here. Now, on the slides in the slideshow, you're going to collect and organize your data. That might be text boxes. So here's the text box tool. You select it and click, and then you can type. Or it might be making your own snips, your like screenshots, right? To make pictures, you can use the snip and sketch tool. You go down to your what do you call it? Your type here to search bar on your desktop, and you type snip and sketch and you click open, and then it'll let you take some screenshots, and you can just hit Control C and Control V in here for the findings. We suggest you use one of these per insect, or that you use close to Griffey Lake, the land between here and Indianapolis and farther north, but you kind of divide it into 3 separate places. When your team is done with that, it's going to be important that you think about making a proposal based on your findings, what's going to happen, and then what should we do? I think most groups, I'm recording this the day before, I think most groups are going to end up somewhere in this like, what should we do situation. So I want to show you this just now, copy the student worksheet for this activity. And remember, as you're making and collecting your data, goodness, copy, I'm going to make it nice, As you're doing this data, you're not just looking at the land, you're looking at the land from the perspective of these 3 animals and what they can do. And so the real question for you is, what are the strengths of each for the terrain you see? What are the weaknesses? Do you think that this range change from Griffey to Ann Arbor is going to be successful? Why or why not? That's what you're writing down. So we'll see how far people get on this. I'll be back with more information tomorrow. But to be clear, how much insect diversity are we losing? So this is the first study that got worldwide attention. It was published in 2017. And they went to nature protection areas in Germany. So places like Griffey Lake, places like Morgan Monroe State Forest, places like Spring Mill State Park in the forest, or Brown County State Park. And they tried to figure out what the total insect biomass is, how much mass of insects, which is a proxy for how many insects. As you can see here, we're looking at a seasonal decline of 76%. And you can see it here in this graph. This is one example of their many results. So April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, when you see the word Jason on an axis, that often means that you're looking at months of the year. The blue data was the data they collected a long time ago in 1989 when I was 9 years old. And the orange data is data they collected when I was 36 years old. So it was almost a decade ago. And hopefully you can see, even though there's still ups and downs through the summer season and then into the fall where the adults often die up or migrate, you are seeing a lot less insect. Honestly, ask any of your family members who grew up here what it was like to clean the car windshield when they were my age. It's like back when we were teenagers. So like when you stopped at gas stations, you would have to clean your windshield, not because it was dusty or because there was pollen, but because there were smashed bugs all over it. I'm 45, right? So what are the strengths of each insect for the terrain you saw on Google Maps? What are the weaknesses? It says here to write 2 good sentences, but I would also accept that you would write down like the beetle, what's going to be difficult, what's going to be hard. The bee, what's going to be difficult, what's going to be easy, what's going to be hard. And then the darner, which is like the dragonfly looking thing. So what are the strengths and weaknesses? Maybe there's something in the terrain you saw where you're like, nah, none of these insects is going to be able to make that migration. What did you see? What was it? So pretty open here, but you do need to have completed the assignment to be able to do a good job. That's it for me. Hope you're doing well out there. We'll return to this work on Thursday and start thinking about designing solutions. Take care out there. See you soon.